Hello, this is Jason P. Wilson 01 X-Force, and this is my DC comic poll list for the week of August 10th, 2011, and today is the 12th. It is a Friday. Now, this week has been all about DC for me, and as much as I loved Amazing Spider-Man's Part 1 to its Spider Island from Marvel, nothing can touch DC's books this week. They put out some great books, and it's a bittersweet feeling for me because I've seen the end of some of my favorite books of all time. And with that said, let's start with this great issue, which is Batman One Shot, which is an 80-page giant, 2011. Now, I love these kind of books, and this is definitely an acquired taste, but I love these collaborations of different artists and different writers that do short stories all into one giant-sized book. I love it when DC does it. Of course, they have their always great Halloween issue, and they have their holiday issue that's always good as well as others. And I love it when Marvel does it. One of my favorite Marvel books that they've put out is the 150 issue of Ultimate Spider-Man, which is just like this, a collaboration of different artists and different writers, you know, doing and showing their love for the characters that they're writing about. And this is a great book. Now, again, if you don't like short stories, then obviously you don't want to put out 6 books for this book. But if you love these characters, Batman in this case, and you do like short stories, this is a great book to pick up and a must pick up. I just love some of the stories in here. Obviously, like the fun thing about this book is you read one story, and as soon as you're done, you know you're going to turn a page and a completely different story, all with a new artist and writer, and it's going to look different. Another thing I like about these books is the artists seem to have fun. They know it's a short story. They know it's just a little teeny, it's not even a one-shot, it's a small one-shot for them. So they can just go crazy with the art. They can try something different, try something fun. And all the artists do that. And just like all of these books, some stories obviously are better than others. But, you know, especially coming at this time, you know, with the end of the current DCU and the soon beginning of the new, you're getting a lot of these characters that won't be in this type of issue again. Not this way, they won't. So that alone, it's definitely worth a pick up. But also the writing, this is great. I liked more of the short stories in this than I usually do in these kind of books. Usually there's a couple I don't care for, but I really liked all of them in this one. I love this book, and I recommend it to anyone who enjoys short stories. Or to anyone that just wants to feel you know, a bunch of different types of stories and characters all in one book. And from one great book to the next. And that's the way it's going to be here with DC this week. One great book to the next. This is the much anticipated final issue of Detective Comics, number 881. Now, for some reason, just like my Amazing Spider-Man, I went to go pick up my saver, and it did not have Detective Comics in it, which I have had in my saver for a while. I have no idea. Obviously, my last name is Wilson, so I'm always on the end of the list. But someone had pulled it out of my book because they had run out on the shelves, and someone needed or wanted this comic. And you know, I explained to them, please find me this book in the back somewhere. I need this book this week. And I'm friends with the owners there, so they're really cool. They went back, possibly took it from someone else's saver, and I got my books that I was missing this week. I really hate that, though. I really don't like that when I'm missing a book, especially when they're this big. Now, they were sold out, and I'm not sure. Obviously, it's a great book, but the other issues weren't sold out. So what the guy at the comic store, his name's Matt, was telling me that, you know, he had a big demand for this final issue. People that weren't reading the current series at all. They just wanted the last issue of Detective Comics. And as great as this comic was, it has to be read in context. You need to go back, you need to read the beginning of this story arc at least. I would recommend going and reading the very beginning to Scott Snyder's run, which starts with Black Mirror, and read from part 1 to Black Mirror all the way to this issue. That way you get the full build-up and full, magnitude of what you're supposed to be feeling when you read this book. For people that just pick up this issue for the fact that it's the last Detective comic before the relaunch, you're going to read it, it's going to be good still, but you're going to get nowhere the same type of payoff that you would if you at the very least read the beginning of the story arc. It's not going to mean as much to you. So I recommend this book fullest that I can. 5-star rating, absolutely. But definitely don't cheat yourself. Read the beginning of this story arc at least, so you can get the full feeling of what Scott Snyder is doing here. So with that said, let's talk about this book. It was already anticipated. Scott Snyder already put out there that this is going to be the end of this book is going to be some of the shocking pages ever to be put out in Detective Comic, and all that is absolutely true. This was probably my favorite issue of Scott Snyder on Detective Comics, and these runs have been the best runs that I have read, period, on Detective Comics. This was a great ending to Detective Comics, a great way to end this great legacy title, one of the longest running comics of all time that will be restarted at issue number 1. It went out with a bang, but again, you gotta read the full story arc to get the big bang. You really do. This is a very complex story. This is not a pick up and read kids comic book. You need to know what's going on. You need to know what happened before this issue. And with that, it has everything that it promised and more. Awesome, awesome book. This run, all the Scott Snyder runs are really must to pick up on trade. I'm picking them all up in hardback. I recommend everyone picking them up at least on trade. But this last story arc, particularly, is an absolute must-buy. You must pick this up in its full storytelling on trade or on back issues. Fantastic book. You must get it. And next comes, even though, like I said, all the praise I just gave that book, and I absolutely loved it, but for whatever reason, call it my endearment for the character, this was my favorite issue of the week and month, with a very close tie with that Detective comic. Like I said, Scott Snyder on Detective was all around a better book, but I picked up Batgirl, issue number 1 on a whim. I like Batgirl, but like I said before, I'm a 6'3", 200-pound guy. I like to work out, and here I am reading Batgirl. I picked up issue 1 on a whim, and I read it, and it was just, there's something about the feeling of this book. And like I had said before, all of the teams that have handled Batgirl have had the same type of caring for the character. They really seem to have a special place in their heart for Stephanie Brown and Oracle, and this writing and this storytelling that has started with issue 1 and now ended with issue 24. It has been just such a wonderful, wonderful read. And as much as the other books like Detective Comics are just great masterpieces, great masterworks, Batgirl for me has just been a special book. It really has. Now, it can't compete on all the twists and dark mysteries of Detective, but that's not what this book is about. This book is about just Stephanie Brown and her heart and the type of person she is and the type of person she wants to be, and all of her fantastic supporting characters. I would say, as much as I love Spider-Man and all his characters, Batgirl probably has the best supporting cast. All these characters, all these crossovers that have happened over these 24 issues have all been handled with such care and such endearment and love, if you will. They really have just brought this book to life. And anyone who reads Batgirl and who's a fan of Batgirl, you know exactly what I'm talking about. As someone who's never read Batgirl, you can't pick up this issue and know exactly what we're talking about or what I'm talking about. You really have to read the full issue, all issues of this series. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm wrong about this, but if I am, please let me know. I've looked on trade and I could only find the very first story arc of Batgirl, the Batgirl Rising, on trade back. All other issues, with the exception of crossovers she's had with Red Robin and stuff, all other issues are not on trade back. Just the first story arc, which is really sad, because I think every single one of these books should be complete on trade back. It's that good. This series has been that good. And for me, this was my favorite issue because of the emotions that were involved in this book. Fantastic cover, by the way. Obviously, it's the same artist who did the cover for the 80-page Batman that I showed at the beginning. Fantastic artwork here on the cover. But the real gem here is when you open the pages. Out of all the books, they gave you really nice kind of send-offs with a thank you for reading and kind of little special messages for the fans of the books. This one, for me, did it the best. When I'm turning these pages, and again, when I picked this up, I didn't know for sure if it was the last book. Even though I kind of felt it when I looked at the cover. I then start reading it, and the more I turn the pages, the more I am understanding, yes, this is the last issue. And the final page to this it's not the big shocker that Detective Comics had, but it had just the emotional impact, almost like a love letter from this team to the fans of the Batgirl Stephanie Brown series. It was just a really nice send-off, and I couldn't have asked for a better last issue to one of my favorite comics of all time. This is a fantastic book, and for those of you who are Stephanie Brown fans, a perfect send-off. And with that is an end to another great book, and that is the last issue of Red Robin. Red Robin has been second or maybe third in my DCs. First probably being Batgirl, second being Detective, but it's a close fit here. Even though it's not my Batgirl, Red Robin still is close behind, and it's been a great book. I've read it since the very beginning as well. And I did read the first two story arcs on trade. All the other issues that after that I picked up on singles. And even though it didn't have the same emotional impact as the final issue of Batgirl did for me, I still really like the way they ended this book. Now, yes, unlike Stephanie Brown, who will not be in the initial first books of the new DCU. And in fact, we all know Stephanie Brown will be back in Batman Incorporated and stuff, but we also know that they will not ever treat Stephanie Brown in the same way. She'll never get her own special series like she did with Batgirl. She'll probably be a part of teams and she'll be a guest on books. But if she ever gets her own book, it won't be anytime soon, and it won't be the same. And with Red Robin, we get Red Robin right away with Teen Titans. So it's not as bittersweet as Batgirl was. But still, it's not going to be the same Tim Drake. We're not going to get the same Red Robin as this. This is an older Red Robin. This is a Red Robin that went through the death of Bruce Wayne and was the only person not to give up on him, believing that he was truly alive still. And he went from a Robin to his own character by every right, his own hero, just as much a standalone character as Nightwing for Dick Grayson ever was. Red Robin has really defined the man that Tim Drake became, and even though we're getting him in Teen Titans, that Tim Drake is a much younger Tim Drake. And even though we're still getting some of the continuity, it can't possibly be all the continuity because of the age of the character. The new younger Tim Drake and the new Teen Titans, which I am getting, it's not going to be this Tim Drake. And this Tim Drake is the one that I really grew to have an affection for. And all the stuff that he's gone through, the good and the bad, you've had all these experiences with him. And as much as there are Steph Brown fans out there, there's just as many Tim Drake fans and Red Robin fans. So this is a very good last issue. It's not the perfect last issue that I felt Batgirl was, but it still was a very good way to end the book. And you definitely felt that the team on this book knew it was the last issue and they wanted to make it a special one. And it definitely was a special last Red Robin. Another bittersweet comic that I am going to miss. I'm absolutely going to be missing this. Again, you can only pick the first 2 trades that I've seen of Red Robin. Another book that I really feel should all come out on trade. All Batgirls, all Red Robins should all come out on trade, every single issue. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to be that way, so I recommend everyone to hunt down all the back issues of Batgirl and of Red Robin and add them to your collection. They are really great comics and must-reads for any DC fans. And with that, we will go to my last DC and another end to a great series. Unfortunately, it wasn't nearly as good as any of the other end titles. Detective, Batgirl, Red Robin, all were great books and great endings. This was a great series, but it was not the right issue to end it on. Now, yes, we immediately will get Batman and Robin #1, which probably keeps most, if not all, of its continuity, and that's great. But this feels like just an issue they ended it on. The other books, you felt the artist knew it was the last issue, and they really wanted to show the fans, thank you for reading, and you felt that in the pages. This one, not at all. Again, if this book came out maybe a month or 2 ago, I would have liked it a lot more. But I read this last, and after reading all of those emotional endings to all of those great books, I was really wanting the same thing from Batman and Robin. Instead, I got this very weird, but very cerebral and interesting story, but it was like the worst pick of a story to end it on. Yes, it was very interesting and taking on its own, not thinking it's the last issue. If it came out, like I said, a month ago, it would be pretty good. It would be interesting, at least. It's very cerebral, like I said. You can tell by this cover what I'm talking about. There's this very cool scene in here where Batman's being sliced in half and you can see his innards and half of his brain and stuff. Really interesting work here. The artwork is very kind of arty because they went for the whole cerebral. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's definitely not pretty artwork. It's very odd artwork, and it's supposed to be because of the type of story it is, and I get that. Still, I didn't really care for the art. I did like the story. I thought it was very interesting. I do like these whole type of, like I said, cerebral books, and that would have been a very interesting kind of quirky book, a few issues ago. But when you're ending a book, it should feel like this is the last issue. Bam, take a feel here. I wanted to have some type of thing between Dick Grayson and Damian Wayne. I wanted to have some kind of special thing going on here with them. But you don't get that at all. You get this very interesting weird story with very interesting, weird artwork. So I was very disappointed in this, especially being the last issue. And with that said, I would love to hear about your guys' DC books. What end books that you guys get so far for DC? And I really like to see, did you like them? Did you like the way they ended your series? Are you really looking forward to the books if they're relaunching them? If not, are you going to be holding on to your issues that are not being relaunched, like hiding them in your boxes somewhere, making sure that you don't lose them? I really would like to hear from you guys on what books you're really going to miss, as well as what books you're going to look forward to, and what books you felt really ended their series right, the way that I felt Batgirl did and Detective Comics did, and even Red Robin. And with that said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.